It's exciting because it has an exciting story. You probably walk right by it because it doesn't look like much, but it's actually a pretty cool mushroom. And they only grow in maple, too. So these green polypores on this hardwood log, and there's also Ganodermas out here on the same log. Did everyone see these and just walk right by them because they're old and rotten and look gross? Well, they're not old and rotten, even though they might look gross. So these mushrooms that are green on top, you probably thought they were rotting and just had algae growing on them. They do have algae growing on them because they're hairy, but they're totally fresh and growing. So this is Cerrena unicolor, and they're actually pretty cool to see underneath because they have sort of
Mossy Maze.
Mossy Maze Polypore. Yep. Wow. So they have a dataloid hymenum. Daedalus lived in the underworld in Greek mythology and lured victims down there, and it was all maze, and they got lost, and he ate them or whatever. So if you see these, this is a polypore, but the pores have gotten bigger and bigger and wider and elongate, so they kind of like snake around almost. But they're actually pretty in their own way because of the green. They look like undersea coral. Anyway, so what's the big deal with Mossy Maze Polypore? What's the big deal? So this guy rots very old growth maples, and more than likely it didn't get here by chance. More than likely it was brought here because in very old maple trees and logs that have fallen and are about to rot, there's a wood-boring wasp that it's the biggest wasp we have in North America, except for one that's bigger that I'll also tell you about. This is called the pigeon Tremex columba, and the wasp itself is as big as a man's thumb. It's a big fat wasp. It's a wood-boring wasp. So we have wood-boring beetles, termites, ants, and wasps. None of them can digest cellulose because no animals can digest cellulose. So they all have to have microbes do the work for them, especially fungi. So cattle, they're munching along. They're great, big, and giant because of their diet. Actually, it's the opposite. Cattle have to be big and giant to eat such a nutrition-poor meal and house a big, giant stomach with microbes that can digest the nutrient-poor grass, the cellulose. Whales, the same thing. Lots of other organisms that are on nutrient-poor diet often have a lot of microbes and have to have a big chamber to house them. Or they do what the pigeon Tremex does. The pigeon Tremex wasp has a pouch on the mom's back that serves no other purpose than as an incubator to carry mycelium of this fungus. And so she lands on very large, dead maples that are standing or lying down, and she wiggles her ovipositor. Looks like a big stinger, but it's not. It's an ovipositor. Wiggles that into bark, and I photographed it many times. Wiggles that into bark, lays eggs, and at the same time squirts mycelium from inside the mecangium that's on her back. It goes through her body and out the ovipositor into the wood with the eggs. The eggs sit there and do nothing for like a year. And after about a year, the fungus has germinated and grown through the wood, and now the grub of this big giant wasp starts munching on the partially digested wood thanks to the fungus and can get away with it. But the story doesn't end there. Because of the smell, at least it's believed, because of the smell that this fungus puts off growing in the wood, there's another wasp that's even bigger than the Tremex columba called Megarhyssa, Megarhyssa atrata. And there's two Megarhyssas. Megarhyssa atrata is one of them. This is the giant ichneumonid wasp, and it's 14 centimeters long. Yeah, they're very common. You've probably seen them. So the wasp itself is pretty big, but then she has a super long ovipositor, so it's 14 centimeters long. Super big. So she flies around until she smells this fungus and lands on the log. If we busted this open, there would be these big giant grubs inside, for sure. And I've watched them do this. They land and they are crawling around, tapping with their antennae and sniffing around. And when she finds where, I guess she can hear them munching inside the wood or something, she works her ovipositor, which is super duper long, down into the wood. And just a few papers that have ever been written say that she like pierces it and lays an egg inside. It's probably more correct that she finds the tunnel, lays the egg inside the tunnel. The egg hatches immediately, and then her larvae hunts down the big grub of the
my
Tremex. Yeah, and this is well known. And I had a lot of pictures and described all this in FUNGI Magazine, had you been a subscriber and reading it. But anyways, it'll be in the forthcoming book, The Secrets of Fungi, which shows lots of pictures of all this. Anyways, the Megarhyssas are super pretty. This big one that I'm talking about is black with these bright lemon yellow legs, and they're big and massive and shiny. And it takes them a long time, and they're like in the zone when they're laying eggs. So you can set up a tripod and take great photos and everything. They stay there for like an hour.
So they're local? They're around here?
Absolutely. All the pictures I've ever taken were all in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Ovipositor, but it's not a stinger, just to clarify.
Ovipositor's not a stinger.
Right. So the big one, you can't get you with it.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the hymenopterans, ants, and wasps and things, most of them I don't think actually can sting. Some can, but most cannot. The stinger evolved from a stinger, but then it's turned into an ovipositor over millions of years during their evolution. So anyways, it's a boring mushroom, but if you look closer, there's more to the story. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. Too bad we don't have a hatchet. We can chop this open and see what's inside. That's a good story.
We are Wisconsin Mycological Society. Check out our website and social media. We're an affiliate of the North American Mycological Association.